and welcome to my curriculum night presentation. My name is Mrs. Uvick, and I am teaching a second grade virtual class this year. We did do some community building, and we decided on being the Unicorn Sharks. We're still working on a mascot, but right now we put the Sharkicorn there. All right, like I said, this is a virtual second grade. We have the same mission as every other student at Sayre. I want to create a classroom where kids feel accepted, have a thirst for learning, and feel safe. Hey, who am I? This is my 16th year at Sayre. I came from a second career. I was originally a mechanical and environmental engineer. Did a lot of that, so that I think is where a lot of my organizational skills come from. I do want you to know that I volunteered to teach virtually. This is a challenge I wanted to take on this year. So I am here voluntarily and trying to make it as great as we can. I live in South Lyon. I have 2 daughters, and the kids know we have a guinea pig and 2 cats. I work very closely with our second grade team. Mrs. Musson is a virtual teacher. Miss Beal and Mrs. Quinn are both remote in-person teachers at Sayre. And we work very carefully and very together on a lot of items. All right, what do I teach? I teach the same old second grade stuff. We do use Common Core standards for English and math. We use the Next Generation Science standards. And we use South Lyon Community Schools instructional maps. Those are available. If you would like to see an instructional map for any area, just let me know. We can get you a copy. What do we teach in reading? We teach them how to read. We use literature, informational text, all kinds of reading. I want the kids to be reading, whether it's a novel, a picture book, the back of a cereal box. I want them to understand that reading is power, that the more they know how to read, the more they can read, and the more they will know. My biggest thing, and I'll tell the kids this over and over, is practice. Athletes practice. Figure skaters practice. Football teams practice. They may do drills, but they also practice, and the way to get better is to practice. The more students read, the better they become. I think reading is also not just reading the words, but also listening to books. What do we write? We write lots of things. We write to get a message to our reader. So we write for a purpose. We may be writing personal narratives to tell stories about ourselves. We might be writing nonfiction about a topic. We also work heavily on opinions, reviews, and persuasive writings. Fair warning, you will get letters begging for everything. And not only will they be begging for things, they will be giving you reasons why they think their idea is valid. We both will write online this year. We will also use pencil and paper. Even though we're virtual, we'll be doing a lot of pencil and paper writing. For math, we teach the basic skills, addition and subtraction. The big thing is strategies. I want kids to have strategies to add. Once we know fluency facts to 20, we can know them to 100 and 1,000 using strategies. We also talk about place value measurement, time, money, geometry, and I think the most important thing is problem solving. Solving problems while we're doing math. All right. Please know that some kids may already have mastered their fluency facts to 20. That doesn't mean they're done. I will keep pushing and keep encouraging and extending their learning in all areas. For science, we talk about matter, changing earth, kind of an earth science unit, and plant and animals, kind of a life science unit. Second grade, we talk a lot about communities. We talk about a community, what it is, why it's there, how do people work together, and how do they change. And I think one of the most important things is how can a citizen affect a community. I want kids to know that they can help make a change, and we'll talk about how they can do that. Word study and spelling are 2 different subjects. Word study is when we take letters and make words, and we look for chunks and vowels and blends, and we look for patterns in how words are made. Spelling is how to spell the word. This is especially important for words that do not follow patterns. You think about there, and there. Those three words all sound the same but are very different. So there are some spelling words we just have to learn to spell, and there are other spelling patterns that allow us to learn lots more words. Okay, we will have spelling tests. I'm working on that. I have to assess kids for what they know and what they don't know, and I'll probably be doing that over the next week or two. How do I teach? What goes on in our virtual classroom? Well, as you've seen from our schedule, every workshop begins with a mini lesson, and that's where the actual teaching comes. I'm teaching them a new skill, a new topic, some information. Then I send them off to practice, and that's the independent practice where you might see them working on a seesaw activity. During that time, I'm pulling small groups, and I'm pulling potentially individual students to reinforce, to reteach, or to extend the learning. So those small groups are where we actually do a lot more teaching. Okay? Eventually we will come back and we will share and reflect on what we've learned. We're working that into our routine. And then you'll also see times throughout the day and the week where there's asynchronous learning. That's where I record a lesson and record an activity, and the kids work on that independently. During that time, it gives me, or I have time then to pull individual students for assessment purposes, for reteaching, whatever they need. The biggest thing I want to reinforce, whether we're in person, virtual, however, is we're a classroom of thinkers. In every area we think. We think and we problem solve. Cultures of thinking goes right along with that. Cultures of thinking is not just learning information and memorizing information, but it is using thinking skills to extend that information. All right? It develops their learning and their abilities. It makes kids think. We'll use all kinds of routines, and all of these can be transformed into virtual routines. This is a program called Jamboard, where we used it last spring. Kids had to put an opinion, or they had to go find something that was 1 inch or 3 inches, and they add their thinking or their answers onto the board. We can then share that board, and kids can not only see their response, but they can read other responses, which might trigger additional questions or thinking in those students. We'll be using Jamboard and Ziteboard, potentially an app called Nearpod, but we'll be using those next month or so. What about technology? Yeah, that's a little different this year. Kids do have their devices at home. We meet in Google Meets. They are doing an awesome job. I was talking with some of my colleagues, and I had nothing to complain about. Kids can get into meetings, they can get out of meetings, they can get back into a meeting, they come back when they're supposed to. I'm so impressed with the kids' abilities. I often, in fact, I have a post-it back behind my computer that says, remember, they're only 7 and 8. They are very capable, and they've handled the Google Meets excellently. I don't think that's been a problem at all. Seesaw. They've all been working in Seesaw. Seesaw is where I'll keep their activities and their work. It creates a journal, and in the next few weeks we'll be creating a classroom blog where I can post some of their work and they can see other students' work. For guided reading, where they're reading in small groups, we actually have a program called Literacy Footprints, and it is books. They read online, but we can read them together as a group. So I can pull a small group for reading. We can all log in and read the same book. Freckle, they've been using for word study, has a great guided word study section and math practice. And we also have IXL Prodigy, RazKids, and Epic for math and reading. Because we don't have that classroom library available, RazKids and Epic are great spots for kids to investigate and find new books. If you have books at home, they can be reading those as well. The only time I'm worried about the level of a book is when we're actually working in guided reading. Seesaw. Every day, you'll see a schedule posted as an announcement. And if you click this View Original button, it'll take you to a screen where you can click, or your child can click, everything they need to do. It has the times, it has the links, and kind of a flow chart of the schedule. If you forget what a link is for a meeting, this is the link for our whole group meeting. And soon we'll be using our small group link. That way students can be pulled separately into a small group meeting. And I can still be in a whole group with the class, but be working with a small group of students. Specials. I know, specials. They're working on it. What I can tell you is that they are working on some naming conventions for their meeting links, and they are working on posting everything into their Seesaw classrooms. Your child should have a art, music, and PE Seesaw classroom, and that's where they'll go to find those independent or asynchronous activities, and hopefully they'll be posting their meeting links there too. It is a work in progress. How do I score and grade work? That's a great question, because I don't have piles of work in front of me anymore. But I do have piles of activities in Seesaw. Some items will come back approved without a comment. I'm just checking them in and checking them that they did it. And some I'm using more as an assessment, where I'm actually reading and I may comment or mark up a piece of work and send it back to a child for corrections. I can also use Seesaw for exit tickets, a quick little quiz to check their learning, and other hopefully individualized spelling checks and other things. I use small group and flex times throughout our day to assess individuals and small groups, and more guidance is coming for the virtual learners as far as grading, reporting, and report cards. So what assessments do we use? We do use the NWEA. We'll talk about that in a minute. We use reading assessments, short passages. I'll have the kids read me a short passage and ask some questions. Use running records. I use lots of formal and informal classroom assessments, and I make observations and notes as I'm meeting with small groups and students. NWEA is a nationwide standardized test. It is given in the fall and the spring, and it is administered online. The dates are on pause right now. I'll keep you posted when I hear when the second grade window is. But what this will do is give me information about where your child is right now. It'll show me their strengths and their weaknesses, and then I can plan what individualized instruction that child needs to get them where I want them. This is a test that's normed against millions of students worldwide. It is not an abilities test. It just shows me where your child is and where we can get them. How do I run our classroom, and what do I expect of students? Our classroom is the same as every other year, and our goal is to be safe and learn as much as we can. I want students to try and be Sayer sharks, to be safe, honest, aware, respectful, and of course kind. Building a classroom community. I want students to feel like this is our class, this is our group of people. We do that through our morning meetings where we do a lot of sharing. We've already selected our unicorn shark class mascot. And I want to remind students that we are Sayer sharks. We are always safe, honest, aware, respectful, and kind. All right. Students are responsible for quite a bit through the virtual learning platform, but I expect them to be responsible for the same things: behavior, assignments, supplies, snacks, and being organized. As I've said in some of my communications, having a bucket or a basket or some sort of area where your child can keep everything, their notebooks, paper, pencils, crayons, anything they need, that they will know that's where my work is. That's where I go to find my work. Discipline plan. Behavior management, classroom management is a little different this year. And it says they're strong. I have to fix this because we're sharp. Okay, the important stuff. Homework, snacks, birthday. Homework. Check Seesaw. Go in, check Seesaw. You can go in as a parent or family member and take a look at what's finished and what's not finished. I would like kids to finish the activities. If they don't finish them during the day they're assigned, they'll stay live for a week. They can always go back and correct that. All right? Fridays, there will be some new work, but there's also time to finish up assignments. Book bags. My goal, I am working towards this. I am carrying that book bag flag. I want kids to have books at their reading levels. I want them to have real books to sit and read with. The district is working on how we can do that, and I will keep you posted. Student of the Week. We will start Student of the Week in 2 weeks. Kids will have activities for every day of the week, and they'll share them during our morning meeting. Obviously, your kids provide their own snacks, water bottles. Just a reminder, keep the cap on, even at home. And birthdays. We are working on a birthday. I'm working on a birthday activity that we can complete virtually for each child for either their birthday or we'll finish up in the spring for the summer birthdays. What about conferences? Conferences are moving to October this year. They will be virtual. I will send a sign up genius. We'll do that just like we did the Meet the Families. The one thing, and we'll talk more about this before conferences, is students will sit down, your student will sit down with you and go through their Seesaw journal. And they'll show you work that they're proud of. They'll show you work that they are, that they think they could have done better on. They'll show you work that shows you their new learning. It's so powerful for students to share their work with you. And then when you come into the conference with me, you have an excellent background of what your child is completing. Okay, I agree. That was a lot. How do you get a hold of me? Email. It's the best way and probably the quickest way. I check it at lunch, at specials, at snack. I am unable to check it while I'm on with students in small groups, so bear with me during those times of the days. My phone number, that's a Google Voice number. Feel free to contact me, 248-916-3668. And we can always set up a Google meeting. If your family, your child, you have questions or issues, or you just want to go through some stuff, email me and we can set up a Google meeting and take care of that. That is the end of my presentation. Again, welcome to my second grade virtual learning classroom. I think we are off to a fabulous start, and I can't wait to see where these kids go over the next 8 months. Thanks for listening, and don't forget to contact me if you have any questions.